this is obviously our celebration for Mr. Storm and his retirement. I have the honor of introducing the first speaker, and he happens to be the superintendent of our district. We have been around and been affiliated with Dr. Hartzler for a long time. In fact, he was one of the early administrators over our program when we were still just starting over at the IHI. So a longtime friend of Alt Ed, Dr. Kurt Hartzler.
Mic in front of my face. Okay, well, gosh, first of all, it's so great to see all the students. I don't get this opportunity very often to meet collectively with all of you, and man, we got a good looking group, Mr. Storm. It's no wonder why you've never wanted to leave this program. And as I recall, about 2 or 3 months ago, I stopped by kind of just serendipitously on my way back to the office, and I said, I'm going to stop in there, and I started to play a little pool game. Where's Sam at? Is Sam here? Where's Sam? Sam, he's on the guitar. Well, I've got a pool match at some point in time, and I still have it in my mind to play a match of pool and get my butt kicked by Sam. I'm very honored to be here today to say a few words about our leader, Mr. Storm. This is going to be tough, as I did the same thing last week with Mr. Dave Stauffer, who has been a long-time principal and administrator in this district. These are not always easy times. And of course, we're going to have a weather warning to tell us, guess what? More rain's on the way, right? But Richard, it is really with mixed feelings to be able to talk today. I'm so excited for you, and I think all of us are, for you to start another chapter in your life. But then at the same time, we're very sad. The fact that we are losing really a legend. I've been in this district now, I've said this a lot in the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's only because I say it out of a tremendous sense of pride that the district has allowed me to be around here for 30 years. I started around my 30th year, minus 3 years I left to go to another district, but then I quickly came back when my predecessor, Dr. Burton, took over as superintendent. But really, it's amazing the legacy that you have left. Even in my tenure, I have yet for anyone to paint a portrait of me. I've had portraits painted of me before, not always in a good way, and in the way that this organization has honored you by putting up a picture of kind of praying Richard. Mr. Ducker, the new principal, I've told him I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with that baby yet, but we'll figure out a way to maybe, I don't know what. I can tell you, students, you could not have asked for a better advocate for you all and for this program. Mr. Storm has been at this a long time. And I can tell you what I admire so much about him is the fact that he chose to want to work in this program. And he started it. As a matter of fact, when we started this, 20 years ago, I believe, almost to the year, I remember Dr. Burton saying that we're going to start this alternative program. I'm like, this is awesome. I think this is great. But at the same time, she said, I want you to be kind of the disciplinarian of the program, and Richard's going to be the principal. I'm like, okay, so he gets to be the good guy, and I get to be the bad guy. And that's the way it worked for a couple of years when we were at the old intermediate high school, and I think it worked well. I think we were for sure on good foundation, and we had the right leader in place, and to this day, without question, we've had the best leader to run our program. Have you thought for a second how many thousands? I know we hit 1,000 graduates like about 4 or 5 years ago. So I don't know, but the graduates we've now had in the program, 1,300 is really an amazing, amazing number. And so, Richard, thank you for your leadership and for your unwavering commitment. to our kids, because you all are our kids, and you always will be. Once you're a Redskin, you're always a Redskin. How many of you graduated? How many of you were at graduation 2 weeks ago? So that's awesome. So congratulations to you all. As I said to you all 2 weeks ago, and I say to you all today, don't climb a mountain simply because you want the world to see you. Climb it because you want to see and make a difference in the world. Just like this staff has made a difference in your life, and Mr. Storm has, I challenge you all to think about that as you go through life. Well, Richard, I'm not going to say really much more other than just congratulations, and we're so very proud of you for what you have done. I said this last week, and I think it's appropriate to say it again today, that Winston Churchill once said that we make a living by what we earn. I mean, we work for a living, but we make a life by what we give. And you, without question, have given a lot to public education, and the fact that your passion and your heart was working with our students in an alternative setting, I think is absolutely amazing. Truth be known, I would have been a great candidate for alternative education. You may not see that today, okay? Trust me, I would have been, had one existed when I was in school. If they didn't, as a matter of fact, when we got in trouble and I got in trouble, they just kicked me out. Said good luck. I never quite figured that out, but at any rate, thank you again for everything that you've done, and it has truly been an honor to work side by side and to work with you for the betterment of our kids. You truly have made a difference in a lot of lives, and I know these students will not today attest to the difference that not only you but this program has made in their lives, but as they get older, they appreciate the value of what an education is. It will do nothing but enhance your life over time, and so remember that. Don't stop with just this, because you've got to go on and continue with either an education or a vocation. This world is a pretty competitive world, and so you're going to have to continue to grow in those areas, and we know that you're well equipped to do that. So without any further ado, I really wish your wife was here, because I also had some words of wisdom for her. Because we've lived with him, right? Not home living with his wife, and so I get to miss out on that. Other than I was going to tell Missy that what I've also said about retirement is that a man's retirement really becomes a woman's full-time job. And I hope that heck she's got a big old list of things for you, because you will drive her nuts. So you all can relay those words to her. So. At this time, I know we do have a speaker that's going to say a few words, and a legend also in his own right in this program. Mr. Bob Button.
It's kind of funny. I started teaching back in 1979. Just out of college, I went 2 years at Cascia Hall and realized that really was not the world for me. It became quite apparent. So I came back home, because I'm also a union graduate. I came back home, and it was kind of funny because we operated out of the old buildings that were at the 6th and 7th grade center site. Now, when I mean old buildings, I mean the one where the second floor was condemned and you couldn't use it because it was dangerous to be in that building. So we were back in that building. I floated for 5 classes, so I was in one building for one class and then carted my stuff over to another one. And I ran into this crazy long-haired English teacher. And that was obviously Mr. Storm. But the one thing that, even at that time, now we're talking about 1981, even at that time, the one thing that we always heard was he pushed his kids to be better. And while they probably resisted, Some resisted. They always came out better, but I always had heard about how he always worked harder with the kids that struggled, and his main interest was with those. And so I guess even the roots of alternative were in his mind back even those early days. Because I know when we built this building at the 8th grade center, he tried to get it started over there where we kind of had a remediation program and some things like that, at least in every department. And that kind of morphed on into where it joined Miss Wyatt and into more of a formal approach, still housed within that one building. And I foolishly got out of education about that time, which after the first 6 months I realized I shouldn't have. I realized even further that I shouldn't when they said, oh, by the way, we're not hiring because we have a reduction in force because of, go figure, Oklahoma budgetary problems. So I couldn't get back, spent some time having to recertify because, again, foolishly, I let my certificate lapse. Don't ever do that if you ever have that, just so you know. And at the time I got done, I get this phone call, and it says, hey, Bob, this was in December. Jobs for teachers, I don't know if you know this, but jobs for teachers are hard to find in December. And he said, Bob, I got a job for you. I said, okay, where are you? And it was Mr. Storm saying, well, I've got a job down at street school in Tulsa for you. I need a math teacher. So he said, go down and apply. I don't think I ever told you this. But I went down there, and they said, the lady gave me kind of a dirty look and kind of a hard time about it, and I was like, can't figure what, I mean, come on, I mean, I'm a nice guy. And I couldn't figure out why she was being that way until I found out that there was a mishap, and this teacher that I was replacing had passed away. And she thought I was shopping in the newspaper for jobs, apparently. Yeah, she wasn't real nice to me. But anyway, after she found out that I was actually innocent in this whole situation, got the job there, spent about 1.5 years there with Richard, and he came to my classroom one day in April, shut the door behind him, which he didn't do. What in the world? And he said, hey, Bob, I'm going to go out and start an alternative program out of Union. You want to go? Heck yeah, I did. Let's go back out there. I graduated from Union. I taught there. I want to go back. And the rest is kind of history. 20 years later, we're here. It hasn't always been what you see here. I kind of had a Jeopardy question for you. And the answer to this is the drama room, the L-shaped storeroom, band storeroom, the storage closet at the top of the stairs by the assistant principal's office, and the sewing room at the IHOP. What do those all have in common? Well, the question, what is Union Alternative School? That's the correct question. That is the humble beginnings of Union Alternative. And we felt fortunate to have just the fact that we had the alternative. It was just, you know, hey, we've got this started. But the goal was to get our own site. Well, we came up after that second year, and Richard said, hey, they're building this building. All right, where is it? Right next door to the service center. Yay? Again, yay? We knew that everybody in the district, the superintendents, assistant superintendents, all the everybody was right here in the building we now use as a building. And that was nice. We didn't know how nice that was going to be. But there was a little hesitancy there to go, oh my gosh, they're going to be popping in every minute of every day, scrutinizing everything we did. And they weren't. They trusted Richard and his staff enough to let us do what we do. So that, we've always been very fortunate with our administration, and I know Richard and I have talked in this many, many times. Said, so what are they recommending we do? And he said, for us to handle it, for us to do it. So the thing that you may not know is when Richard came here, one of the things he wanted done was he wanted to be able to pick his staff. He doesn't want anybody sent here. Just like for you students that are sitting out here, you weren't sent here. You applied and you came out here freely and willingly. That's one of the basic concepts of our alternative school. And when you guys go and you hear stories about alternative schools, oh yeah, those kids, the ones that are on suspensions, the ones that are on that's because Mr. Storm didn't believe that. That's not the way a good alternative school is run. And he stood by that principle, and that's a lot of what our success comes from today. You guys asked to be here. You've got to want to be successful if you ask to. So, that you can thank Mr. Storm. He and I have had a lot of discussions over the years about a lot of different things, all the way from do we want smart boards? Do we really want that much? Do we really want those things? Do we, what are we going to do with this kid? What kind of disciplinary, what do you think? What's your thought? And the one thing about Mr. Storm that I don't think other faculties will even understand is how much the faculty input counts into what we do. He consults us on most things. There's some things he can't. He takes care of them, but he deals them, and we all know that we trust him enough to deal with them. So it's nice to have the trust with the input. So we know that, you know, we're going to be heard, but at the same time, you're going to do what's right. So, and kids, if you don't believe that, you just are misinformed. That guy right there is one of your best friends. I'll never forget when we first came to our building, I had a kid that was called to the office. And of course, you guys all know when your name's called, it's like, well, they had the deer in the headlight look, and off they went. They went to the office, they come back in, and they have that same look when they come back. And I looked at one first and I said, shocked that he just wanted to sit and talk to you? Yeah, he asked me how it was going. Asked me how I liked it. I said, and what's wrong with that? And he said, well, nothing, but that doesn't happen. He said, when I go up there, I get my butt chewed out. And, well, yeah, Mr. Storm's not your average principal, especially in that day. 20 years ago, you went to the principal's office, something bad was going to happen. With Mr. Storm, it was, how's everything going? He can also improve the program by listening to the students, and that's part of what he did. So we heard them. In fact, some of our principals for ADD and ADHD, dealing with that, came from a student that wrote a paper for him. That's where those came from. It was from a student, not from us. Because guys, sometimes you know best. In a lot of cases, you know best. So, all of this stuff didn't happen by accident. Again, I've chosen to be here for 20 years because, you know, I've known and respected Mr. Storm since 1981. I've always seen that what he does has the best interest of everybody at heart. There's no way that I don't trust his decisions. Some of them, when he tells me what he's done, I'm thinking, what in the world are you thinking? But at the same time, I never have to say that because I know he's thinking this is what's best. So, trust. I mean, we've been there a lot. I will tell you one of the funniest things I ever saw, though, was a few years ago. Does everybody know E.T.? Yeah. If you don't know E.T., you missed something. You missed out. You've got to tell this. This is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. But at that time, we had a teacher here named Doug Nelson. He was about my size. We were kind of bookends. And at that time, we didn't have security over here. We were security. But, you know, if you got two guys that are 6'6" and 250, you probably got pretty good security. So E.T. had gone home to get a student who was having issues that day to get her and bring her to school. On the way, she saw a guy that she knew had warrants. So she didn't want to let him go, but she knew with the student in the car, she really couldn't, you know, arrest this guy and do that. So she pulled over and talked to him and said, hey, have you tried to get in that alternative school like I told you to? Oh, I've been in here. Well, why don't you just jump right in the car here, and I'll take you over there to Mr. Storm, and we'll walk you in there and get you an interview. And that's what he did. They get to school, they walk into Mr. Storm's office, they sit down, and E.T. looks over at him and says, oh, by the way, you're under arrest. He wasn't exactly interested in leaving with her. So he jumps up and runs across Richard's desk, and E.T. is after him. I get this frantic call from Mr. Storm. Bob, come to the office. What the whole crap? And so I take off in a run. Nelson comes across and run up to the front with me. I get to the door, and I'm standing here looking like, E.T.'s here. What am I supposed to do? Because, I mean, you got E.T. there. You don't really worry too much. And Richard is backed against the back wall, going, oh my God, and his eyes are this big around. And I said, E.T., do you need any help? She goes, for him? And she's sitting with her knee in the middle of his back, looking up at me, smiling, saying, hi, how are you? And then she looked back down and said, you made me break a nail. But anyway, so we have had some interesting moments here. We've had some fun. We've had some wringing of hands and gnashing of teeth to try to figure out what's next. I remember when ELIs came out, we were going, oh my God, what are we going to do? Our first group kind of blew them off because they weren't required, and we tested out lower than the Special Services Department at the I-High. And we were all ecstatic. Yeah. So we had a long discussion with our students that these were important, that we actually would like to show that we do teach you something instead of suck all the knowledge out of your head when you come over here. And I will tell you now, there is no other alternative school in the state that gets our kind of pass rates on ELIs. In fact, at the end of last year, I think we had one student that hadn't finished their ELIs, and we sent them to boot camp and other things and got that done. So, guys, that's a tribute to you guys. It's also a tribute to that staff that they're going to be on you, but you're going to reap the benefits. So, all that comes from the top, from Mr. Storm. That's what we stress. Yeah, we're on you. There's a reason. It's for your best interest. Those of you that have had dealings with Mr. Storm, kind of like dealing with Dad, isn't it? I didn't say Grandpa, because I'm close enough to that I'm getting that too. But it's somebody that does care about you and has your best interest at heart. You may not want to hear it. He'll tell you. Sometimes he'll get stern with you. It's because you need it. You may not like it, but you need it. And I will assure you that he does all of those things just because of that very reason. You need it. He'll never tell you all the hours that he puts in here. And good Lord, we need to think about having these guys up here by themselves all summer long thinking. We get calls all the time. Mr. Storm's been sitting up here by himself with no faculty, no students around, and that gives him time to think. And when he thinks, we get phone calls about, hey, what do you think about, or we need to do, what we need to do. So we've got to kind of rethink that, I think. Anyway. Or that may just be Mr. Storm. I don't know. It's kind of in him. I've been trying to convert him. I know he's a misdirected Yankee fan, so I've been trying to read, there's not much you can do with that. We've just kind of learned to overlook that. So, but anyway. In closing my part of this, I cannot think of anybody that I just can't think of anyone that I could have benefited more being around Mr. Storm. He's, when I started out, I didn't know I really was committed to Alt Ed. He showed me I really was because of the things we do, things we believe. And it's kind of funny when I start talking to other people about things and talking about situations. That old saying, those old letters, WW, yeah, well, WWRD, what would Richard do? Seriously, we had a situation at the I-High summer school, and we kind of had to sit in on a disciplinary thing. And I was sitting there thinking, how would Richard do this? Because, again, I knew it was the right way. I knew, again, it was absolutely the right way. So, I don't know that you know it, but everybody that's come out of here will carry this on with them. These principles and things that we've learned here, those will be passed down. Those will go from here. Wherever any of these people go, I assure you they'll take those principles with them. It's just the right way. It's not only the Union Alt Ed way, it's the Union. So that's what we do. With that, again, thank you for the, 34 years, 35 years. We always joke sometimes that we just look over and say 17 and the other one laughs because that's the joke that we've repeated over and over. We know them by number and you don't have to repeat it. So, it is in the way you tell it though. 17 is not as good as 17. But anyway, but again, thanks for 31 years and 20 years here. I can't tell you how valuable that's been. So. A video that Mr. Spencer put together. Mr. Spencer has become our videographer over here. He's done some incredible things. We had so many people come up and volunteer to be on this. If we had put everything in there that we had the potential to do, we could be here for about 3 or 4 hours easily showing that video. Obviously, we're not going to put you guys through that, but he's put together some great clips. So if you were in this and you aren't on this one, Mr. Spencer apologizes, but it just wasn't possible to put everybody in there. So he took these, made these clips of it, and I think you're going to enjoy this. Again, anything he does is very well done. Video, the faculty knows that. So, let's get to your video. As I told you, everything Trent does, he does very, very well. He's really done that. Nice video, huh? Yeah. I'm going to tell you that not every retiring person gets one of those. It's also kind of a tribute to what you've been through here, so just so you know. I do have one more Jeopardy question. Dr. Hartzler's office, computer lab in B, the old boardroom. The question would be,
what was the administration?
Union Alternative before the building was completed the year we moved over here. We used those offices. Dr. Hartzler graciously granted us use of this for a classroom. It was turned into a classroom. Oh, and by the way, we used the bus driver's lounge for a classroom as well. So it was one of those highfalutin places. We really did it up right here. Yeah, we got in our building, I guess, in late September of that year, so hopefully we didn't intrude too badly on everybody's space. But anyway, our next speaker is a parent of a former student, and if I said Hoot Owl, most of you probably wouldn't know what I'm talking about, but I know he does, and some of us that have been around a while here in Tulsa do know. So with that, I'm going to introduce Jimmy Hoot Owl. Gerald.
Well, excuse me. I speak to thousands of people every morning on the radio, and I got to admit, I'm a little intimidated here with all these wonderful students, the teachers, the staff here. First of all, I want to say, Dr. Kirk Hartzler, thank you. Dr. Richard Storm, thank you. The wonderful teaching staff and the administrators here at Union Alternative School, thank you. And I am a parent, and I am a bit of a radio personality, so I do kind of funny things, but my first association with Dr. Storm was through my stepson, James Wyatt Scott, who graduated in December of 2013. And I'm happy to report he has a wonderful job with Walmart. He has 401k stock options. The kid will probably be a millionaire by the time he's 30. He's got better health benefits than I do. So that goes to show you that going through Union Alternative School will prepare you for life. But more importantly, we all have stories. All of you kids, you've got stories about your life. You've got stories that are in the past, you've got stories in the present, and you'll have stories in the future. And one of the things I'm going to share with you is about Wyatt. His name, everybody here at Union Alternative School called him Wyatt, is that Wyatt probably went through more in his life in the short time that he's now 20 years old than most people go through in their lifetime. I won't go through everything that he's been through. But I will tell you that the staff, Dr. Storm, the teachers, were there for Wyatt every step of the way. And that's what this school does for you kids. And I hope you kids appreciate that every day you walk on this campus, because you will not find better support, better love, and better encouragement than you will here at Union Alternative School. And I know you've heard Bob talk about everything that all the experiences here and the experiences that you kids have had here, but I just encourage you to, I don't know what your religion is, I don't know what your beliefs are, but I want you to thank yourself for being here, number one. Thank the staff, thank the teachers, because Wyatt got to the point that he had so much that had happened in his life that he looked so forward to coming to this school. The kid could be deathly ill, and he wanted to come to school. There were some unfortunate circumstances where his mother wasn't involved with his life for a while, and me being on the radio, I had to be at the radio station at 5 o'clock in the morning, or 5:30 I should say. And Wyatt would get up with me. He didn't want to take the bus. He hated the bus. But anyway, I would bring him here to school. He would find a safe place to sit. He'd play on his phone, do something like that. But he never said to me, I don't want to go to school. And that is a testament to that man right there. All these teachers, because you see, as you go through life, you'll work for people you don't like. You'll work with people you won't like. You'll have a boss you won't like, and you'll disagree with what they do, and you'll say, I could do that better. But this place, I'll never forget, when I first walked in this place and met Dr. Storm, first of all, he listened to me in the mornings on Big Country 99.5, so thank God. Playing some of that hillbilly music, y'all up, and that kind of thing. But my point was, what a great positive vibe this place has, and it had when I came in through here, and just, you know, I haven't been here since Wyatt graduated in 2013. By the way, Wyatt bawled his eyes out, didn't want to leave here, just like most of the graduates don't, because they love it here so much. But again, I want to say thank you, Dr. Storm, thank you, Dr. Hartzler, for supporting this program. Thank you so much to all you teachers. Dearly, dearly love what you've done for Wyatt and all these students, the students that graduated, that you've seen the stories here on the video here. And Wyatt still talks about Union Alternative School, and he always will. Thank you very much.
Next, we'll have Ms. Garcia with our presentation here.
Okay, I'm not going to say very much because I'm a big crybaby, of course. So, Mr. Storm, let's just do this. Okay, we have a beautiful plaque for you. You don't get to take it home with you, but I am. We wanted to name the school after you. But you gotta die to do that. We don't want you to die. Okay, this is the plaque. See it? Hard window, like it left, and there's an alternative. It says, with great appreciation presented to Richard Storm for your unwavering support and relenting guidance that helped in leading our path to success. Thank you for your legacy and never giving up and providing an alternative. But this is the best part of the plaque. Many times in our staff meeting, Mr. Storm has mentioned the book Catcher in the Rye. And if you saw the video of Ms. Reynolds, she referred to this in her acceptance speech for the District Teacher of the Year, but I want you to listen to this very closely because this really does represent all Mr. Storm stands for. Anyway, I keep picturing all these little kids playing some game in this big field of rye and all, thousands of little kids. and nobody's around, nobody big, I mean, except me. And I'm standing on the edge of some crazy cliff, and what I have to do, I have to catch everybody if they start to go over the cliff. I mean, if they're running and they don't look where they're going, I have to come out from somewhere and catch them. That's all I do all day. I just be the catcher in the rye and all. I know it's crazy, but that's the only thing I'd really like to be. And it's from The Catcher in the Rye by Holden Caulfield in chapter 22. And that pretty much sums up what Mr. Storm is all about in this program. Congratulations.
I think it's interesting that the person in charge of mental health can't stop crying. You know that she's sincere. And one of the great things about this program is that we do have sincere people here. We have people who come here not because this is the easiest job, because let me tell you, it ain't. Because this is a job that we want to do. And when I look out among you students here, you are in a long line of students. There are many, as you saw, that come here before you. There will be many that follow behind you. And so I look at you, I see so many of you that have come so far since you've come into this program. I see others of you that have so far yet to go. And that second group, I'm not going to be here with you. But I'm leaving behind people who will get you there. They'll take care of you. They'll look after you. They'll chew you out. They'll call your mom and rat you out. They'll kick you in the rear. They'll tell you they don't believe that story. If whatever it takes to get it to where one day you're ready to walk out of here and be among men and women and be successful. And hopefully we'll be doing the one thing that really does it for you in life, the thing that makes you happy. And I've always said that my main goal for all the students I've ever worked with is that I hope that when I'm through with them, that when they're 40 years old and the alarm goes off in the morning, the first thing that comes to their mind is not, oh no. Instead it's, okay, going to work. If you have the work that you love, you'll never have a bad day in your life. And I do have one last thing I want to point out to you. Where's Chris Ducker?
Where is he? Oh.
There, okay, Mr. Ducker, would you please stand up? Now, you may not know it, but this is a junior me. And I want to tell you a baseball story, and there's a point to this. A lot of my stories don't seem to have a point at first, but eventually they do. Okay. Maybe a stupid point, but it's my point. When I was a boy, I grew up in a little town of Collinsville, just about 18 miles that way. And it was pretty much of a crappy little town. It was an old mining town where the mines had played out, everybody was broke, things like that. And as many of you know, I've been a lifelong Yankee fan. And one of the reasons for me was Mickey Mantle. Because when I was a boy, Mickey Mantle was the greatest player in the world, in my opinion, and I'm correct. And he came from Commerce, Oklahoma, which was a crappy little mining town. And when I was a boy, watching play, though I'd never had the skills that he did. I often thought, oh, maybe if I try, I can make something out of myself too. And when I watched Mickey Mantle play, every time he came to bat in Yankee Stadium, he'd get booed. And I thought that was odd. And, you know, my dad and I listened to the games on the radio, and one day I finally asked my dad, I said, you know, Dad, why do they boo Mickey Mantle when he comes to the plate? He said, well, Rich, before, the guy that played center field before him was Joe DiMaggio. He was married to Marilyn Monroe. He was a very well-liked guy. And a lot of people can never forgive Mickey Mantle for not being Joe DiMaggio. Okay? Point of that story is, don't do that to this guy. And personality-wise, I'm more like Mantle and he's more like DiMaggio. But you know, that's my fondest desire as I leave here today is that all of you who are falling behind me will pick up the torch, will work a little harder to get reacclimated, to help Mr. Ducker get oriented, and to explain to him, you know, why we do things the way we do, because some of it's going to take some explaining. And we'll show him the same kindness and courtesy that you've always shown me. And if you do, then I know that 30 years from now, when they take me on an outing to the old folks home, and I go driving by, that sign out front is still going to say Union Alternative School. And I'm going to know that good things are still happening. And there's going to be young people here that are going to be benefiting from all of this stuff. And so maybe time to stop talking. I think I will. I'm still going to be around for a while, and I'm not dying, you know, I'm just... I'm going to still be here for summer school, and my cell phone's going off right now. Kids, this is why you always turn off your cell phones at meetings. I'll still be here for summer school, so I'll be around, and we'll be working on data and all that kind of stuff. And so, you know, 20 years from now, when you walk into Quick Trip and see an old man over there digging around in the beer counter, come over and tell me hello. That you did something great with your lives.
By the way, in response to talking about helping Mr. Ducker, the one thing that I will tell you and tell Mr. Ducker and Dr. Harsley is that the one thing that Richard has created here that is phenomenal is that he's created a very resilient, resourceful staff. This staff, if there's anything that comes up, we come out and go, okay, so what are we going to, oh, we already got it covered. You don't have to ask these people, it's just done. So some of the things that will come up, just check because they may already have been done. And I know Richard has kind of counted on that in the past from time to time to say, okay, no, we got this thing. Yeah, we got it. Oh, okay. And he goes on to something else. Just know that this staff takes care of things. So anyway, Richard, we got one other thing here for you. You get to take this one. And this one says, thanks for 20 great seasons. Union Alternative School, Principal, 1995 to 2015. And we have a baseball signed by the MVP staff. MVP. That should have been 20 MVP seasons. But there's the ball, and obviously with his, I guess you could say, passion for baseball, nothing else would fit like this does. thought that it only fitting that to close out this ceremony would be to bring back the only other person that's been here as long as Mr. Storm and I have, and to say a few things about what she's had here and what we've had here and what we've built here. And if you're not sure who that is, it's because you started in August or later this year, but her name's up on the science wing. And so, without anything further, Pat Michael.
Okay, I know you've been sitting here a long time, but I think there's a few things that need to be said to sum this up about Mr. Storm. And that's that there's a lot to learn from him as a principal, as a boss, and as a man. As a principal, he took a chance on so many students that needed that second chance. He believes young people need to be given the opportunity to get back on track, to learn the way they learn best, and have the support they need to be successful in life. To that end, he hired an eclectic staff so that the diverse students at Alternative might find an adult with whom to connect. He brought in staff members that would create a family away from family in a safe, respectful environment. He has a wonderful way of seeing through the walls people put up, so he could offer appropriate words of wisdom and sometimes tough love to help students reach their goals. He knows what makes a successful alternative program. Over the years, he and the staff have developed and refined a truly effective formula for alternative education based on mutual respect and an understanding that one size does not fit all. He always had the best interests of this program at heart, even within the limits of his position. He did everything he could to protect this program and keep it the way it was, an effective program. He knows that bigger is not better, and quality trumps quantity. Okay. Even so, 1,300 students plus have gone through this program. As a boss, Mr. Storm is one of the best. He invited our input. He listened to both sides of the story before he rendered judgment. At times, he tempered tough situations with humor and dry wit. But most important, he treated us as professionals. He didn't feel a need to micromanage. He trusted us to know our job and do it. Again, mutual respect was expected and given. He's the kind of boss one hopes for and should aspire to be. Mr. Storm is about doing the right thing. He is a man of integrity, a man of respect, a man of his word. He has your back. He's willing to listen when you need help or support, and he has a wealth of experiences to draw on and offer some great advice. He's dedicated and he truly cares. He was never about climbing the ladder. He's about choosing the noble and honorable thing to do and pouring himself into it to see that it's done well. Richard, as you turn the page on this chapter of your life, know that you've made a significant difference in the lives of everyone here and those who come before, students, staff, and parents. Your example and dedication are a lesson to us. We are blessed and richer for our time with you. Thank you, my friend, from the bottom of our hearts. Enjoy your retirement. You've earned it.
Okay, guys, in closing, hopefully you've made use of the opportunity that you've had. That's the biggest thing. And as Ms. Michael said, one of the big mantras of our program is everybody comes here with a fresh start. If you want to be Albert Einstein, you can be Einstein. If you want to be his evil twin brother, you can be that too. It's up to you to decide which one you want to do. But I will tell you, if you continue to do the same things, you'll continue to get the same results. If you want something to change, you have to change it. Ultimately, we can't change it for you, but you can be open to the suggestion of how to change it. So,